Welcome back to some more Thrawn's Revenge. Last time we blew up a superstar destroyer by spamming it with fighters just about. Doing that, in one way or another, caused Thrawn to take over the regular Empire, so we had to kill him as well because we're at war with the regular Empire. Doing that, surprisingly, didn't really cause anything to happen. We now just don't have our leader. We occupied ourselves by conquering the New Republic. That's our new project. We killed a whole load of their heroes and took out some fleets, and we're still in the process of doing this. However, there is another missing footage disaster. We've got 20 minutes of black screen to skip over, leading us to a slight point in the future. I think I just conquered one or two extra planets since last time, nothing much, and now we're going for Mon Calamari with our main fleet over here in the east section of the galaxy. I'm also building another fleet over in the west, which we'll use a little bit later for a special project. The battle at Mon Calamari was nothing, should have auto-resolved it. It looked like there might be something there, but it was just one of the MC-80 things. Said we lost a corvette there, but it actually just emergency jumped off somewhere. That's that. Now let's land invade Mon Calamari, and as it turns out, this is the capital of the New Republic. It's defended by none other than Luke Skywalker, running around town with his lightsaber out. Not achieving very much though. The artillery he's got with him is doing much more, damaging my tanks quite heavily as I just rush towards them, hoping to bring them down before they bring us down. Luke dies somewhere amid all of the tank fire. He couldn't pull out the old Force Ghost trick and get away with it this time. So let's see if we can take out the artillery as well. It's doing quite a number on my advancing block, but the MMTs aren't being killed, and that's all that really matters. Can they even be killed? The question remains open. So while we take quite a few tank casualties, we blast through the enemy's artillery, and now we can go to secure their base. I took a communications array to discover it, and we see this nice weird looking building. That's the New Republic Senate with Mon Mothma in it. We'll just get rid of that. There we go, that's democracy sorted out. Now we just need to blow up everything else. There was a slight issue actually winning the battle because the enemy have this extremely lucky light factory. It's specced into luck. Every shot is just missing it even though it's on like 1 health. After a while we managed to pick up that win. The New Republic is now officially screwed. Big hitting heroes going down along with another army and another planet. Looks like the Empire is actually going to take over the galaxy. The only question now is what colour will that Empire be? It's not going to be green, it's not going to be white or darker blue. Can we get it to be the best colour? Light blue. Our next step is to attack the next New Republic planet, the last one I think, also defended by some heroes, but this proved to be not very much actually. I say heroes, it was one hero, and I say one hero, it's actually 0 heroes at this current time. Yes, we took out some guy in a tiny ship. They've got a few slightly bigger ships, but we've got lots of big ships, so no problem to take those guys out. As for the land battle, I really couldn't be bothered now. I was like, I know auto-resolve's crazy, but I'm just going to do it because I'm tired of this. And as it happens, we get an okay auto-resolve here, maybe because the enemy didn't have many buildings. We lost 1 unit of tanks and took out more than that on the enemy side, so a good auto-resolve. Thank you very much. Really, I should continue on to the next planet before settling down, because that's the real final choke point here, but I couldn't be bothered, so we'll just settle in here for a bit. So now I just waited for some time to pass so that I could make this new fleet I mentioned. I'm gathering it up right in the middle of the galaxy. It's just bits and pieces from all over the place, and it's actually mostly capital ships. The reason I'm making this fleet in particular is because I want to attack the Transitory Mists, and we're going to do that right now. I already know that there's something there because in the 20 minutes of footage that was lost, I sent a random corvette to see what would happen if I tried to enter these mists, and I found out that you get attacked by a load of things. So this time we're going to enter the mist with a load of things of our own and just have a little space battle here. Guess it doesn't really matter who owns this mist, but let's do this just for fun. So here we are in the mist, and it's full of these enemies that actually spawn right in front of you, or they deploy right in front of you, so the fighting gets started right away. We need to deploy into a proper line because lots of my units started behind my forward ships and couldn't really fight. As for the fight, it's going to be defined by something you can tell quite nicely at the beginning here. The enemy have loads of fighters, and we don't if you compare the left and right. the sheer number of enemy units is just much greater, meaning our fighter cover is going to be wiped out really quickly, and that's going to cause lots and lots of problems. While my big ships are better than theirs and will gradually be blowing the enemy up, we're losing health and losing shields constantly to fighter attacks that we can't combat. We don't have anything that can fire at fighters left after our initial few fighters are destroyed, since I didn't put any carriers into this fleet or any ships that have lots of fighters with them. And that's just because I wasn't paying any attention to this fleet's composition at all. I just wanted to send something, so I built a load of random units. And that means we're in trouble. We actually can't win this battle because we don't have any way to kill these fighters. I think most of the fighters are spawned garrison fighters, but if any of them are just regular units of fighters, it will actually be impossible to win here. And I'm not just talking about the fact that we can't target the fighters, I'm talking about the fact that the fighters are actually killing us. We are losing our capital ships. We've defeated most of what the enemy have as well, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day because we're losing everything. I should have retreated earlier, but I wanted to destroy all of the things we could target before I left. For no particular reason, I think it would have been better to retreat much earlier once I realised that we were just getting owned by the fighters. But I ended up destroying most of the stuff around me, then hitting retreat near the end where most of my fleet was on the verge of death. And actually, a lot of it had their engines disabled, so they couldn't retreat anyway. We get away with just 3 or 4 ships. Almost everything I sent in was lost. A pretty bad fight. We destroyed tons of stuff on the enemy side, but their stuff was smaller, so it doesn't feel very satisfying. We are sent home in shame, and now I'm going to have to just build another fleet, and this time I'll take a look at the actual ships and put some carriers in it. There's probably nothing really left there at the Mists, but there are other misty places to attack, so we'll make an actual balanced fleet for future use. Now I finally stopped and waited for a while. The rush is officially over, and while I was doing nothing we got this message that Thrawn is dead. I know, I killed him. It says he's going to come back in 10 years, so we'll watch out for that. Otherwise, it's news that there's a new galactic leader. Emperor Palpatine is back. I thought he was dead from the films, but I also think he has a clone or something in the canon, I can't quite remember. So he's back once again and we have to kill him. We've also got a new hero with a new type of ship, the Phalanx Battlecruiser, which is the upgrade of the Syndic Star Destroyer. Thought we might be able to build them, and we will be able to actually build them later. For now we've got just this one, and I'm going to move him over to join the new fleet I'm making at Kuat, so he'll lead our next attack on the Transitory Mists. You can see I did a bit of scouting with a recon droid and discovered there's just loads of that same fleet copy and pasted all over the area. They don't seem to be doing anything, but if you want a challenge, I guess you can just go and attack them, and if you win, you get a shortcut through the middle of the galaxy. Not all that interested. I was more interested in finding Palpatine, and I realised this planet here, Biss, was neutral before. The Empire have suddenly taken it over, and a bit of scouting reveals that it's because the Empire have spawned some units, including Palpatine himself. So there he is. My new fleet's ready, so let's go get him. No point waiting around here, let's just do it and see what happens. Here's the first look at our new Phalanx Battlecruiser. It is just a bigger Syndic. Not quite sure whether it's actually more efficient, because it costs more pop to field these things, nearly twice as much, and I don't know if they have nearly twice as much power or twice as many guns. I suppose we'll find out. I like to think that bigger is better. The Empire also have something new by the looks of things, but it's not very good. The Modular Task Force Cruiser. It's a sort of light medium cruiser thing that can't possibly stand up to the usual spam, so we'll get in there and start firing. We've even got fighters now in this fleet, so we can keep the enemy bombers and fighters at bay. The fighters the enemy were using were droid fighters, so the Empire's finally got rid of actual piloted craft, probably cheaper that way. So yes, we won the space battle, and now we're going to hit land with the army that's left over from our rush at the beginning of the game when we rushed to Coruscant, so it's back with our original ground army. In this fight I sent a scout bike across the map to capture a forward landing zone. But it turned out I couldn't get my army to this landing zone very quickly because the scout bike flew across water to get there. The ground army has to go all around the edge of the map to get to this location. In the meantime, I had landed a unit of tanks at this zone, but it was attacked by a dark Jedi. The Jedi took down one of the tanks and the other two lost most of their health, but we were ultimately able to win. So there we have it, those Jedis aren't all that good as it turns out. Now we just wait for the rest of the group to arrive, but before it did, we were attacked by another Dark Jedi. This time, it's Palpatine himself. He takes down another tank. I'm going to slap down this anti-infantry turret here in case we can lure him into it. With my last remaining tank, I'm going to try and make an escape since, as I've said before, if one tank survives, they all survive in the game's logic. But it drives into a wall halfway and it can't escape from Palpatine. That's a shame. However, the rest of my army is now beginning to arrive and the turret is ready. Palpatine's lost more than half of his health as well. At first he ran off into the woods for a bit. I thought he might go away, but he did come back to face the advancing blitzkrieg. He tries to take on a Mega Mazer tank and I'm going to try and lure him towards the anti-infantry turret. Doesn't work, but these other guys who are advancing up just quickly shoot down the strange old man in their path. And there we have it. Palpatine is dead. Mission accomplished. And we go on to win the battle with no further drama. Did lose those tanks, but to kill Palpatine, possibly for the second time, that's probably worth it. There wasn't any message saying anything in particular has happened because of it, and we'll see why that is actually in a second. First, I'm going to attack the Transitory Mists. Again, we know the fleet is ready, and we also know that the defending fleet here is pretty much nothing, because we did kill most of it in our disastrous battle last time, so we just need to pop in and finish it off. And as you can see, we've got fighters all over the place who will hopefully screen our capital ships and reduce the amount of damage we're taking from constant bombing. I'm not really helping myself because I keep ordering the anti-fighter corvettes to attack capital ships with my Control A antics and not using control groups. So that won't have helped, but we did win since it was just a small battle. Now I discovered why the era hasn't progressed. We're in era 3B. We need to kill Palpatine's bodyguard to actually advance to the next era. I also learned that in the next era there's going to be something spawning at the Maw, a new Imperial takeover attempt. And this was not so bad because I'd already captured the 2 planets that join to the Maw here on the edge of the galaxy. So I thought, well, if there's going to be trouble here, we can just set up. So by the time we get that bodyguard killed, we'll have the 2 planets the Empire will have to go through nice and heavily defended. Now I'm going to do a battle against more Transitory Mist forces for no reason. I just wanted to try out my new build with some fighters in it against a full-scale Purple Guy's army. The battle starts immediately again because we deploy in range of the enemy guns. I tried to get that chaff that stuck out front back, but it is being bombarded by quite a lot of stuff. A couple of smaller ships are stuck out there as well. I want to run away and draw the enemy into our line so we'll have more fire going out at them. I also need to get my fighters together and go out to screen our line, get the enemy fighters all embroiled in fights. I'm going to try and use the Hunt for Enemies feature, which I think makes your fighters go and kill enemy fighters automatically, maybe. Here we are then, there's some sort of big blob of fighter combat going on just in front of us, giving us more leeway to attack the enemy's regular ships. That said, it's not going to go entirely as I planned, because while this time I did actually bring a load of fighters, it simply wasn't enough. I guess because we're based off the Empire and the Empire's weakness is their fighters, my fighters probably aren't very good either, and they just get destroyed, and very quickly the enemy fighters and bombers start going onto our capital ships, and I just say, no, we're not doing this again, we'll just leave. We did lose a chaff and a frigate. We destroyed one of the enemy's cruisers, not very much, so definitely a lost battle, although really indecisive for both sides. We're going to go away and come back with more fighters, I suppose. That's the only real counter, or more anti-fighter ships. And I'll also be using the thing where you manually select what ships you bring in next time to try and get the right composition for that battle. There's no reason to really be persistent about taking the Mist, but I just thought I'd take the challenge anyway. We'll try again. First though, I sent a fleet to invade Thanos. I wanted to clear the path to the last remaining Empire planet, but these red guys have actual stuff defending their territory. That is revolutionary, including a big Secutor Star Destroyer. They've also got a hypervelocity gun. One of our Syndics is damaged immediately. A nice thing about the Syndics is they have 2 engines, so even if the shot hits near the back, sometimes one of the engines survives and you can jump away. We'll be trying to do that right now. Whereas the rest of the fleet will go after their big guy. I thought, let's try and at least take something down, no matter what happens here. The good thing about these big secutors is that while they look imposing, they don't have that many guns on them for their size, so they're just a bit more powerful than a Star Destroyer, so all we need to do is just pile on the shots and we can bring it down relatively easily. Once many of the guns were destroyed, I decided to pull out the micro and start taking out more worthwhile guns on other things. Since this thing only has its guns mostly on the other side, it's not doing much damage, we can be super micro-y and take out more guns that are facing us elsewhere in the enemy formation. Soon we've blown up all the ships that came towards us. We did take losses, but they were mostly, or I think all, retreating losses, where our things were getting down on low health, and I just jumped them right out, including this Syndic you'll see on the right here. Once that was done, we need to go after the enemy space stations, and that's something of a difficult proposition. They do have a defense platform and a max level shipyard. I don't have reinforcements to replace all the ships I've been jumping out of the battle, which means as we come to attack the shipyard area, it's not just the usual stomp, since the number of guns available to us has been diminished, and it's only going to get more diminished, since every time something gets near death, I need to jump it out to stop the hypervelocity gun just quickly finishing it off. That means it is a bit of a slow grind to get through this part of the fight, but we do it just by virtue of the fact the enemy were only attacking us with really small and light ships, so they couldn't challenge our bigger ships too much. The trade station goes down, and now I'm actually just going to get out of here because I thought attacking the defense platform may actually incur losses for us. You can see one of my interdictors there was just about to go, especially since the hypervelocity gun will probably get a couple of shots during that time. So I'm just going to go away. It says we lost a load of stuff, but I think everything jumped out, so we didn't lose anything, and we did take out an enemy fleet, and we almost took that space. It's at the point where it's just the defense platform, so I thought we just need to go back in and attack it with something else after going to find my jumped out ships, that is. Eventually I found them right down here at the bottom of the galaxy. This random thing's really annoying. There are a couple more ships down there that probably also jumped from fights earlier in the series and I just forgot about, so we'll team all of those guys up and start bringing them up to reinforce our fleet. Everything that retreated from that fight just now at Thanos will now go right back into it, since as I said, there's nothing there. We might as well just get a ship in there to capture the space. But I was wrong. When I come back to Thanos, there's just another fleet, and again they've got a secutor leading it by the looks of things. So they very wisely actually restationed this area with ships after I left, so I couldn't just take it. And what's worse, we've got the situation where you're not allowed to hyperspace out because the game wants to spawn some rogue forces. There is a little get out for this situation, as you can see here. If we use emergency jump, that gets around the hyperspace blockade. So all we need to do is jump the whole fleet out, but it doesn't quite work as intended. The hypervelocity gun destroys the engines on one of the chaff destroyers just before it could jump. Now it's stuck here then. All I can do is slowly limp away and draw the enemy's forces towards where these rogue forces will spawn. So in pop a couple of Star Destroyers. My chaff's going to be in trouble at the edge of the map there, but at least the rogue forces and the enemy forces, these red guys, still not sure what their faction is by the way, they are going to fight each other, and there's a chance that something will be destroyed in this process. One of their cruisers goes down there by the looks of things, or I think it was a carrier actually. Our chaff's gone, and that gets rid of our line of sight, but they're still fighting. The battle doesn't end until there's only one faction left, I suppose. So they'll just fight on. All you can see is these special effects. Looks like something's happening, and the hypervelocity gun's firing at them as well. Here's the eventual result. One carrier down and a patrol craft down. Nothing too special there, unfortunately. At least our emergency jump only took us just here to the Transitory Mists, so I can quickly find it and we'll quickly get back into position. I'm just going to wait now for my reinforcements from down south, and then I suppose we'll just try again, see if we can actually defeat the enemy fleet. Should be pretty easy with all of our Syndics together again. But the enemy have reinforced this position even more. They haven't rebuilt the space station, but they have brought this gigantic thing to defend the area. It's just this huge Star Destroyer absolutely covered in guns, and they've got a couple of Star Destroyers of their own. It almost seems like they absorbed the rogue forces, because the rogue forces, it was a small red Star Destroyer and a regular one, and those things happen to be here defending this area. So maybe they captured them? Not quite sure. Anyway, the battle is on. One of the Star Destroyers comes up to us and just gets shot to pieces because we focus fire it, but after we've got that first little victory, things aren't going to be so easy now that the big guy who's edging into the frame from down there will start firing its billions of guns at everything. I wanted to take down the Crimson Star Destroyer, the victory thing on the left there, so I'm going to wait until that's done, but then we're out of here. Not going to sit around and watch that big thing blow up a load of Syndics. While victory may be possible, it's not exactly a favourable situation, especially with the hypervelocity gun firing. What we really want, now that we know that big thing's there, is for it to chase us. We want it to attack us over our own space, so we have space stations and we're not being shot by a hypervelocity gun. Maybe we're even shooting them with a hypervelocity gun. We lost a few small corvettes in that fight, but nothing special. We'll just go back and prepare for the next wave against Thanos. Now I'm going to make a pointless attack against this unoccupied planet. It's actually occupied by the purple guys, I believe. Just so that we can once again try a challenge battle, seeing if we can bring down these annoying bomber-heavy fleets without being absolutely annihilated like we usually do. So I used the manual selection thing to pick loads of carriers to make sure that we have lots of fighters in this fleet this time, and then I sent the fighters out ahead of everything to engage the enemy in and around their own formation, hopefully giving us lots of space to breathe with our big ships and lots of chances to bring down the enemy's smaller ships. For a while this does work, but we're suffering very quickly the same problem I mentioned earlier, that our fighters aren't very good. The enemy quickly gain numerical advantage when it comes to fighters and everything gets wiped out. What I thought I could try is emergency jumping all the carriers away. That would free up population space so I could bring in more stuff, but I don't have stuff to combat the fighters really, or not enough stuff, so I thought, well, we're going boys, we have failed again. This part has been full of wave after wave attacks, but at least we're not pushing our men to the death. We're actually not really losing very much in all these battles we keep losing, and we're learning more and more, I suppose. So we get out of there. I don't think we lost anything. All of those things jumped out. And now we know we need about twice the number of carriers, so we can have our first wave of carriers deploy fighters. When they're out of fighters, they jump away, and then more carriers come in to give us even more fighters, and the original wave of fighters, if it's still alive, won't despawn or anything, I don't think, anyway. So we'll start putting something together once again there. Now back to the Thanos front. I used a scout droid to see whether the big ship was still there, and it wasn't, so we're just going to go for another attack, this time hoping to actually achieve something. This will be in the next part. The last thing I wanted to mention in this part is that we got this message saying our Syndics are out of date. It's been decided that we need an upgrade to them, and this is where we're going to be able to build the Phalanx Cruiser that new hero unit was using as a regular unit. I need to research the tech for it from a research centre, which is the first time a research centre has actually proven useful. I built one somewhere to see what it did, saw that it did nothing, and then never built another one, so now I had to spend like 5 minutes trying to find where I'd actually put it. But anyway, we'll get on that next time and keep pushing into Thanos, and I've got some very special antics for when we get to the next era in store.